because it's mainly just you two and someone else is signing in now. So we'll let them get signed in. But what we will do is at the end of the session, like I said, like we did the last time, we'll
Hmm.
provide you the link with everything in it. In the chat, I have some documents I'm going to post for you based off of your request. So let me get that taken care of first. Landmark. I need that. That.
If I remember right, Clive, because we're a guest, we won't be able to download them or view them, so you'll have
Correct.
to
Yeah.
email them.
No, yeah, you're correct on that. But based off of, we have what I think it's like Vimeo or something that we can use. We can upload, that to Vimeo and then provide you that link. So Leonard, he'll help me with that part. But
Okay.
we have we've went through this a few times now. It's like, oh yeah, now we know what we need to do. Okay, here. All right, I just posted those documents, and what I'm gonna do, move this over here. So based off of these documents that I have, one of them is right now is just the operator's manual. I'm actually going through the review with the technical publications team based off of the service manual. But again, as soon as it is released, I will make sure that we get that over to you. The other document I provided, and I'm gonna make it bigger. It's pretty much just like based off of the this cabinet. It is, it's not the iDeck, so it's gonna be a button deck panel based off of the game themes. We pretty much have put together this chart to tell you what button deck you should be using. And when I get to that portion of the presentation, we'll go more into it. But these are the two documents that I'm going to provide for you. The way this one works is based off of far left. You see, you have the theme. These are the four themes they're looking at releasing. Each of the themes do have 9 lines, and then depending on if you want to use just a 5 button deck or one time multiplier. We're showing you the button deck for this for all the game things. So all four game things do support the 5 button, but it is also supported by the 14 button. If you go with the 3 time multiplier, the 5 time multiplier, or the 10 time multiplier, you can only use the 14 button deck. And again, I'll show you those two, but I'm providing you this chart so you don't have to sit there and wonder, like, I wonder what button panel we have to use. So with this one, with this doc, it'll help you, understand which one it is that you need. All right. Now what I'm gonna do is go ahead and we'll get this presentation back up, move this out the way, and we'll get this show started. Go here, go here. And most of you are used to me talking anyway, so I have like my little teleprompter, trying to be a sports broadcaster at the same time. So as I'm going through, there's some things I feel like I need to point out. I'll highlight those so you'll see those. All right. Again, the recording has started. These are the three cabinets that we have, and then actually it's going to be they're ordered. It's going to be either a cell game or a game ops game or a game that you participate. The game that you see on the left here, this is going to be our sales cabinet, and the other two cabinets is going to be the game ops or participation type games we're going to have this out there. The reason why I'm pointing this out is based off of the way the cabinet was purchased is pretty much how the cabinet is going to be shipped. So we won't be doing any conversions or anything like that out in the field. So that's a nice thing for now. Eventually, I'm sure we will. But based off of the cabinet you ordered, whether it be game op, or a cell game, the cabinet will already come built as you see the two choices that I show you here. Cabinet dimensions. This cabinet it's definitely smaller, but we came out with it based off of a lot of customers asking for a retro look. Based off this retro look, we have went back to the mechanical arm on the side, and again we have the button deck. So it's like an old look, old feel, but it still has the newest technology that we're using here at L&W. Again, based off of your cabinet dimensions when you're looking at it. Item A, and I won't go through them all, but if you look at the width of item A, the cabinet is 21.5 inches in width. B, when you go from the outside the handle to the left side of the cabinet, you're looking at 24.7 inches. Item D, E, and F, they're a little confusing, but I'll explain it. Item D says if you go with the 3-tier candle, The height from the top of that candle all the way down to the floor is going to be the 62.6 inches. If you go with the two-tier candle, you're looking at 61.3 inches. And then based off of F, from the top of the cabinet without a candle, you're looking at 56.9 inches. The cabinet really isn't big compared to like all the other cabinets we have. It actually looks pretty small. But the nice thing about it is based off of the base itself, if you're using our slot bases, the anti-tip stands, they're already pre-drilled. So it matches the bases that we do have. So you don't have to worry about that if you're using our existing stands. Now, if you're using, your own personal stands or whatever, you obviously got to drill holes. But one of the holes, and again, when I get to that portion, you actually, instead of you going from inside the cabinet down into the base, you're going to be going from inside the base up into the cabinet because we have one hole that's actually, it has like a screw, a screw, how do you explain it? It's pretty much like it's already pre-made, and this, when you take the screw and you screw it in from the bottom, it's threaded, so it will catch that way. And the point here is like we always suggest that you use four bolts to secure the cabinet down to the base. But if you go to three, you may be okay. And again, when we get into that portion, I'll show you where that third screw is located at. I won't be able to show you the hole, but I'll at least show you where that we do provide all the hardware that you need to do that. When it comes to all the doors and stuff, when we're looking at this, we don't want that one. You like it was on some of the older cabinets. We have the attendant key, which is going to be on the right hand side of the cabinet, right up above the mechanical arm. Then you're going to have your main door lock. It's obviously going to be on the main door. Again, it's going to be on the right hand side of the cabinet. And then you're going to have a belly door lock that's going to be down at the bottom. So we pretty much, like I said, we made this cabinet really retro. So the keys are all going to be on the outside. Nice thing about the belly door, and again, I'll show you when we get to that portion, is if you have the door open, you won't necessarily need the key to unlock it because we have a lever that you can depress and it will open up the belly doors, from the inside without the key. So you will have a key that will be locked on the outside, but we have this lever that's on the inside that also allow you to open that door. When it comes to the bill accept and all that stuff, again with the belly door open, on the right hand side you will see the cash box access door, and behind that you're obviously going to have your cash box door, and then you're going to have your cash box. We're still using the CPU 5X, and based off the CPU 5X, I actually have one that I'll show you, and I'm sure everybody's already familiar with it, but to make sure, because we're again recording it, the CPU, the things you have to do to prep it before you go to do the software installation. And then we have what we call a real control unit. Obviously, these are reels, and we have this real control unit. The nice thing is, it's there. You don't have to worry about programming it or flashing it anymore. When we go and install the software, within the software, it loads the software based off of the reels, and it uploads the random number generator, the stuff that all the things that make the reels do what they do is uploaded to the real control unit. So you don't have to worry about doing a flash to the RCU anymore. It's just a matter of when we go through and install the software, everything is covered. When it comes to the power in this cabinet, we're looking at 120 to 240 volts AC. Power consumption is 171 watts. The main one to point out here is based on our operating current. Based off the operating current, when the cabinet is there and is at its idle state, it's drawing like a point three quarters of an amp. When it's at its max load, you're looking at 1.5 amps. So we've reduced the amperage usage on this cabinet, so it's not as power demanding as some of the other cabinets. Nice thing about that, based off your 20 amp circuit, looking at the max load, you can look at. I would say I wouldn't go over 10 cabinets, but you can easily put 10 cabinets on this that 20 amp circuit and still have room to play with, like if you had a sign or something. So the power usage on this cabinet is very low based off your operating environment, your temperatures and things. It's been tested, anywhere from 339 degrees to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. So they did a lot of testing on it and stuff, and even they added this feeling here about humidity. I'm like, okay, I don't know why we talk about it, but just so y'all know, I mean, they've done a lot of testing, and based off this testing, with these variances that they have for our temperature range and they and the humidity. This machine, you shouldn't have any issues with acting up or being faulty, what have you. The total weight of the cabinet is 268.6 pounds, and the flammable weight, everything that's inside that can be removed or that is plastic, equates to 52.3 pounds. Again, as I was saying, based off of the cabinet, with our cabinet, we always suggest that everyone use our anti-tip stands. Based off these anti-tip stands, we actually go out, we do some testing, and based off of this testing, we test the cabinet based off of certain certain tilts and everything, and based off of this tilt, and I don't know what it is on this one, but you can probably tilt this cabinet like 16 degrees, and that cabinet will still stay up on that with using it by using an anti-tip stand. But as you can see, I have provided the part numbers based off of the different type of anti-tip stands we have that is out there. When it comes to locks, it really depends on the machine configuration, or better yet, what your jurisdiction require. Some jurisdictions require you to put only one lock on certain things. Some jurisdictions require you to put two. With this cabinet, as it is, and I'm pretty sure it's went through all of the locations as far as the testing, with the understanding that based off of the locks we have that's on there, we can accommodate the two locks for your cash box access door. You only have the ability to put one lock for the belly, as well as one lock for the main. But there are some jurisdictions that require more than that. Don't know of that many now, but if it does, this cabinet probably will not be on that casino's floor. Based off of Cat 5, you're going to need to make sure you have enough Cat 5 to, based off the number of cabinets, to plug them all into a network switch. Because again, with the Argo software, you have a couple features in there that's really big and huge and beneficial in a whole lot of ways. Because, and not to make a long story short, with the Argos software, you can truly go through and configure one cabinet based off this one cabinet. All if you have, like, say, a bank of 8 games, they're all the same game thing using the same math model. You can configure one cabinet, and then you can share this configuration across that network on all those other 7 games. So you thus really just end up configuring one game, and then you go to the others. Takes you like not even 5 minutes to up bring those other cabinets up, so you can go ahead and start doing your corn testing and everything on them. Required tools, this always change, but for the most part, we want to provide everybody a list of the suggested tools that you're going to need with this cabinet when you're working on it. And I can say, based off of videos, I will be sending you some links for some of the videos, unless Leonard took care of it already. How to go about moving the button deck, how to go about taking off the top monitor, how to go about taking off the 7 segment display. These three tools that we're showing are the two tools. It's what you need for the most part. So long as you have these, you can pretty much disassemble this whole cabinet. It's actually real easy. We put together, a diagram to show you how to go about putting on locks. I'm not the world's best lock person myself. I don't get to do them a lot because I always get cabinets with just the shipping locks, and I end up taking them all off because I don't need them in the training lab. But in the document here, we're showing that we are using a typical lock assembly that you all are already familiar with. So when it comes to changing the locks and everything, we have this diagram here so you can see basically how to put one together if you want to give people instruction on how to go about doing that. I'm also providing you the part numbers for the different cams and stuff that you have that's going to be in the cabinet. So we have these lock cams here, these four, and then you also have these three. But pretty much and just like we do with all the cabinets, um, all the tanks and everything will be provided for your locks. All right. When it comes to installing the locks, again, not the world's best person, but this cabinet is actually real easy when it comes to changing them. For example, like the one I'm showing you, yeah, on the left hand side, you have the main door latch release. But then right up above the handle, you can't see it, but it's right up here. That's what a main door lock is. When you open up the cabinet, right inside the door on the right hand side, pretty much in this area right here, is where that picture is that I'm showing you on the right. That lock assembly is real easy to get to, and real easy to change out. And I can't say with this cabinet, I really like how easy it is to change the lock. So we're showing you based off this, what you see here, where it's going, where you can go and how you can go about changing the locks in this cabinet. Same thing for the belly door. The belly door, and I'll show you all the actual picture when we get to it. But the belly door is again another easy lock that you can work on, that you can go in and change out and stuff. Cash box, everybody's already familiar with that. Like I already said in the beginning, you do have the ability if your jurisdiction requires two locks. We do have that built into the cash box access door, so you can go through and change those as needed. And we're talking about that. All right, let's get on with this. So on the CPU, first and foremost, again, we are using the CPU 5X. That's, it's a more robust CPU. However, the one thing I do want to point out, and I have two different ones. Some of the 5X CPUs that we have out there, they have different video cards. Based off the video cards, we take the liberty to go ahead and label those so you know what's going to go where. And pretty much when I say label, it's going to be V1 to V4. On some cabinets, the video card they use, the V1 to V4, would be pretty much like you're looking inside the cabinet. Coming from the belly door going to the back of the cabinet is where V1 is going to start, in the front, and then V4 is going to be in the back. The other video card, however, is the opposite. V1 will be toward the back of the cabinet, and V4 will be toward the front by the belly door. Only difference here is it's really just that video card. As far as the connections, V1 will always be your top monitor or your main monitor. V2 is going to be your top monitor. V3 will be your iDeck. And V4, if you happen to have a fourth monitor, could be something like your 7 segment display. But anyway, I'll repeat that one more time. V1 is always going to be your top monitor. V2 is going to be your top monitor. Sorry, V1 main, V2 top, V3 iDeck, V4 could be something like your 7 segment display if you have to use that. The CPU itself, when you first receive them, they should all have these, like they should be enabled. They should not be a closed circuit. One of the first batteries that we have is going to be a coin cell battery. And when you open up the CPU, and I'll have one, I'll show you physically where it is. But with the logic door open, you will see it's going to be located on the left hand side of the CPU. I'm sorry, the right hand side of the CPU. Simply just pull that tab out. When you pull that tab out, that battery will now be engaged. This coin cell battery takes care of all of the non-volatile information, your clocks and things of this nature. So, if you ever wonder why the clock never, loses its information, it's because of this battery right here. Then we also have a bank of batteries that's going to be located in the back of the CPU, and we'll talk about that one in a minute. But we now have these jumpers, and these jumpers, what they do, they act like a switch, and they have two posts that's actually sticking up for each one. They're located in the CPU on the left-hand side, right by the BIOS. And again, I'll show you all a better picture of that as well as the CPU. When you first get them, you should see for J36 and J37 an exposed pin. By seeing that exposed pin, that's telling us that those batteries are not engaged. And what we're trying to do is make the life expectancy of these batteries last a little longer. So when you get it, again, you want to make sure you take out that cellophane paper from the nickel cell, and then you want to take jumpers J36 and J37 and cover up both pins. And what this is doing is acting like, again, a switch that's going to close this circuit for the batteries. So make sure that you check those. Now, if you forget to do it, a troubleshooting tip or something I understand, I'm sure everybody already know, but just want to again make sure that we put this out there. You can put the CPU in the cabinet, and you can go ahead and turn the cabinet on. The cabinet will come on. It'll allow you to install your software. It'll allow you to do everything and anything that you want to do. However, if you go through and you say get like a power hit, or someone for whatever reason turn the cabinet off and turn it back on, all these settings that you've done for this cabinet will be lost. So make sure you put emphasis with your guys to make sure they check to make sure that the battery shots are in the positions they need to be, as well as that cellophane paper is taken out. So this way, the batteries will hold in memory. Now, I'd already said the nickel cell takes care of all the non-volatile information, whereas the four bank batteries That takes care of, like the memory, helps the hard drive keep its information and all that stuff. If you ever have to change the batteries, yeah, I'm just gonna have to go through and do a RAM clear and re-option the cabinet out. Any questions on that?
No.
All righty. Again, this is a picture I'm showing you where the batteries are enabled, and as you can see, that yellow tub, that's where the BIOS is going to be. But right next to that BIOS, we have the ability to now read. What we have the ability to protect the BIOS from being written to, but you also have the ability to. It's like if your jurisdiction decide they want to upgrade the BIOS for whatever reason, you now have the ability to write to that jumper or to that BIOS. I'm sorry. You can barely see it, but based off of where it says disable and enable, it actually is calling out the pins. So if you want to disable the BIOS to and have it prevented from being written to, you're going to have those jumpers on pins 1 and 2. If you want to write to the BIOS, and you can see like the numbers barely under my little circle there, you can make out like the 2 like right in here. I'm trying not to make it too crowded, but there's 2. One is going to be to the left. So 1 and 2 says it's disabled. But if I go to pins 2 and 3, I now have the ability to write to the BIOS. And again, I don't know too many jurisdictions that that provokes or revokes the jurisdiction. But if you do, you have that ability. Now, the one thing to remember, if you do write to the BIOS, make sure that you guys understand they need to put it back to pins 1 and 2, because like that scenario I use, some you lose power. Someone goes in, turn the cabinet off for whatever reason. When they turn it back on, the machine is going to be looking for you to write to that BIOS because you left those jumpers on pins 2 and 3. So make sure after they write to the BIOS, if they have to, they move the jumper back to pins 1 and 2. And that's what we was talking about there. The CPU itself, yeah, actually, it's a little bit different than our 4X as well, and they've added some things on it. As you can see, we have two blue USB ports. These USB ports can be used when you are uploading software. Outside of that, you do not want to use them. Point here is they are enabled. Item B, that's our serial port, and we use that for some jurisdictions want to do like a GAT or a capture data from the for to check the signatures or the SHAs on the cabinet. They can use those that DB9 or serial port to do that. We have two active Ethernet ports, and we've also added the operator switch or the test button at the front of the CPU that allows you to get into the operator's menu. So if you want to do that. Then we also have this logic door. This logic door is obviously locked. Nice thing about this logic door is you can actually take it off. So, like some jurisdictions, they require you to put locks on them. Well, the nice thing about this one is you can take the logic door off, give it to whoever's going to be putting the locks on, put the CPU in the cabinet, go ahead and upload all the software. And you can do everything that you need to do on this cabinet without that CPU door being on there. However, when it goes to locking up the game or bring the game online to be played, you're going to need that logic door. And I'll show y'all real quick how to go about taking that logic door off. And it's real easy. Here we're just putting a little bit more emphasis on the batteries themselves. How showing you how the jumpers are and all that. So the picture on the left, it shows you can see like the 1 pin. Like I said, this is a 2 pin jumper set. And then the picture on the right showing you both pins are covered. So left is off, right is on. All right, now we're gonna get to the part that y'all really want to talk about. The software installation. In order to do the software installation, you're obviously going to have the cabinet off first and foremost. You're going to get thumb drives. The thumb drives, it's going to be like a bundle of them. However, when you look at them, how do you identify the other one from the other? Well, when you're looking at to start off with the install, you always don't have to have your install thumb drive. On the thumb drive, it's going to have a part number that's going to start off with the alpha letter A, and then it's going to have an alpha letter I as well as N. So AIN. AIN says this is a part number, and IN represents the installer. If you see a AWI, that's your Windows. If you see a ABI, that would be your BIOS. AOS. I think y'all getting the point. It's all of them going to start off with an A with the exception of the game. The game will be the only thumb drive that you will have that will not have an A in front of it. All these items that I'm talking about all have to be installed as as part of the in the cabinet in order for it to operate. Now, the one thing I do tell everybody, because some people wonder, is there like a order that you need to follow? So long as there is no process to truly follow. Me, I like to start with my Windows after I got my installed thumb drive in, but you can start in any way you want. So long as in the end, all the software that is required to get this cabinet up and running has been uploaded, you're okay. Now, to go about doing this software installation again, you obviously going to have your BIOS already plugged in, inserted into the old BIOS tub. Then you're going to have two more additional blue 3.0 USB ports. These blue USB ports is going to be located to the right side of the BIOS. Again, this is the only way you're going to be able to upload the software into the cabinet. Like I told you, you do have the two in the front, but you want to start on the inside. So you take your installed thumb drive with the cabinet being off and put it in. I usually put my installed thumb drive closest to my BIOS. So pretty much this port here. So that's where my install is always going to be. Then I can use the other three USB ports and insert those the rest of the software I'm going to be installing into the cabinet. The power switch, as you can see, is located, and this is a pretty much the front view, the picture at the bottom. It's located right below the CPU. I'm sorry, right below the real deck housing, and it's kind of if you're looking at it when it's on the stand, it's kind of like hidden, but just remember it's right under the real shelf, in the middle there, right by real number two. All right, so let's take a look at installing some software. So let me stop this here. Stop. Discard. What I actually have a landmark cabinet that's here right behind me. It's been running for a little while, and this is what the software is going to look like. The only way you're going to be able to get to this particular screen to install software again is you're going to need to make sure that you have your installed thumb drive inserted into that blue USB port. Now, what we're looking at based off of the look of the screen, modules to install, that says based off of whatever every thumb drive that we insert into the cabinet, if it's a properly formatted thumb drive, that information will populate here. Right there where it says factory reset, once I insert a thumb drive, say my game, for example, this factory reset will then change over to install. So let me back up a little bit. If you want, well, I always suggest based off of the cabinet, even though it's already been cleared out, always go through and do a factory reset first and foremost on the cabinet. What this does is it'll wipe out any bad sectors on your hard drive, any erroneous information, so it'll pretty much put this back to its factory manufacturing settings. So by simply clicking on the factory reset, what's going to take place is going to ask you, do you want to proceed with this format? Well, yes, obviously I do. So you tap on yes, and it'll go through. And what's going to take place is you can see you got like a little clock right below the where it said factory reset that's running, but you also have this green bar going scrolling across the top. Right below that, you also have a window that you can actually read to see what's actually taking place. It started the process by formatting the SSD or solid state drive and gives me a time. It's telling me it's going to clear my NVRAM. That's done. So now it's clearing my E square prom. So once that's done, it will let me know that everything is successful. From there, what has happened is over in my installed modules on the right, it shows my BIOS. The BIOS will always be there because that is hard. That's a hard. Um, what's the word I really want to use? That's it's already a hard formatted piece that's inserted into the cabinet. So what I'm doing now, and even though y'all can't see it, I'm taking my Windows thumb drive and I'm going to insert it into the front of my CPU because it's easier for me to reach it than trying to go into the cabinet that way. So I've got it inserted, provided that I have the correct software. As you saw, what took place, it actually my factory reset changed over to install. So what I'm simply going to do is, and it's always going to ask you to confirm. I'm going to tap on install. I'm going to get my little clock. Well, sorry, it's going to ask me again. First and foremost, it's a Windows thing. Are you sure you want to install Windows? Of course, I do. So I'm gonna tap on install, and then it's going to go ahead and it's going to start. Now, one of the things that I also want to point out, based off of the Windows part number, the way you identify if it's the right Windows version is, so it says here AWI, then it has a 05X. This 5X is telling me that's going to be a 5X CPU. So I know I have a 5X CPU in my landmark cabinet. I know I have the correct Windows version to upload. And then it shows the letter H at the very end. That's just like a version of Windows that we are installing. So yeah, again, it doesn't make a difference which way what you install first, but I usually start off with Windows because what takes place if you put any of the other software you have to upload, it's going to give you like this little error message down there telling you, I don't remember exactly what it says, but it's going to be red in color, but it will still go ahead and install it. All it's really doing is complaining that hey, it need to have it's looking for Windows before it starts on anything. So to prevent that from happening, my habit is to always start with Windows, and then from there I can do OS or jurisdiction or whatever it is I want to install. While this is taking place, any questions so far? I'll assume that's a no.
Hey, Sly, we were
Go ahead.
wondering, can you, if you have a, 4X MPU, can you run the 5X software, or is it backwards compatible or not?
It is not backwards compatible, and here's why. That's actually a good question. So based off of the CPUs themselves, they are both um, designed to run Argos, but based off of the physical aspects of each of these logic boards, you will not be able to take the 5X um, Windows software and upload it into the 4X because it based off the coding, it's actually looking for like certain parameters that it has that is on the 5X CPU. So you can't take again any 5X Windows software and upload it to the 4X.
All right, thanks.
Uh huh. Again, this is going to take it takes us I think like 6 minutes. So we got like 6 minutes before we go to the next part. So any other questions up to this point?
Not so far.
All right. How's the weather there?
Hot, except for today, it's cold.
I think I like that cold. I mean, as everybody's already familiar, Vegas is like a big old huge oven. Because it's an oven, this time of year, everybody's miserable. It's like, I don't want to go out there right now. Oh, one of the other things I can't point out while I'm waiting on this to finish, based off of, say, like our Cascada cabinets that we have, because it doesn't have as like a lot of video content and stuff. This actually loads up, a lot quicker than the other cabinets do. However, Windows, I think the Windows version is a little bit bigger, so this may take a little bit longer, but everything else, it installs pretty quick and stuff, and you all will see that when we get to that part of it. Next one I'm going to be putting in while I'm waiting. I have a thumb drive. It's called it's pretty much it's got all the other software that I need. And there's sometime, and I like what they do now with the thumb drives. They used to put like every piece, the OS on this on thumb drive. They used to put the game on this on thumb drive. They used to take the jurisdiction, put it on this on thumb drive. Well, now the way technology is, they actually, bundle as much as they can, and when I say as much as they can, it's really dependent on the size of that thumb drive and the files that we're uploading. So long as the files that we're uploading can fit on a individual thumb drive, you will see that taking place now. It makes life a whole lot easier instead of sitting there trying to track all these different thumb drives that we have that's out there. I mean, there was a time I think we went through and who knows how many thumb drives that just got thrown away because of that. And here's what we're going to do. I'm going to switch over to my camera while that's uploading. So let me drop this down for a second. Let's go here. Because while we're waiting on that, I can actually show you all the cabinet itself, what we're looking at. So let's go camera. There, finally. Oh my goodness. Sorry about that. Okay, so here's what I got. The cabinet is obviously done installing the software, and we'll get back to that in a second. But starting in the bottom of the cabinet, what you all are seeing, this is where the CPU is located at. Again, it's at the very bottom of the cabinet. As you can see, you have like these three yellow the apparatuses here. This is what locks in the belly door itself. But we now also have what they call a security door. This security door right here, it's going to be on every cabinet you have that is out there in the, that's being delivered. It is on a switch. If you do not put it in, this switch right here will not allow you to bring the game online. For the belly door, your switch is located over here. It's pretty much this lever. So when you open and close it, this lever has a switch up in the back that it depresses and either has an open or a close. So again, CPU's located here. I got my network cable going in. Here's my BIOS. There's my installed thumb drive, and I took my Windows and I inserted it into the front. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this one out, and we'll get back up to the cabinet here in a second. We're gonna talk about some of this other stuff. I want my bundle. Put it in. Allow that to read, and then we'll get to the next part. This camera's gonna be moving around here in a little bit, so I don't want to make anybody dizzy, but I just want to prepare everybody ahead of time before I start moving. See my thumb drive. All right, that's we're doing this thing. So here's what's going to take place. Unfortunately, I cannot take. Well, I can. No, if I disconnect, I'm going to lose everything. This lever I was telling you all about. So like with the main door open, this is the lever that you can actually depress, and what it'll do is it'll push the belly door forward, so you can just grasp on it and pull it down to get it to where I have like it is now. Security door. If it was in place, you have a thumb, this pull up thumb tab right here. By me pulling on this will unlock this the security door. To the left on the cabinet, your JC, your validator, is located over here, and you also see we have this lever. This lever allows you to open up the top monitor, and we'll do that here in a little bit. To the right is where we have our validator. So if you notice, like on all of our other cabinets, we used to have everything all in line. Well, on this cabinet, the printer's on one side and the validator's on the other. As you go up, here's your real housings that I was telling you all about. Right now, this cabinet is only going to come in a three real setup, so that's what you'll see. But that's what we have here, and this is the switch I was telling you all about. It's located right below real number two. For the main door, we have a button panel. This is our 14 button panel, and I have, sorry about the bouncing around, the 5 button panel. Based off of the 5 button panel, again, it's gonna really be contingent on the game that you set up or select will determine which button panel you're going to be using. Like I said, I provided you all that chart, with the game themes, and based off the game theme, what button panel that you're going to use. And I'm going to get into setting up the cabinet. I'll show you how you identify how the layout's supposed to be, because we now provide that for you. All righty, so the belly door again is at the bottom. Here's our main door. Of course, to open it or unlock it, you're gonna pull it to from right to left. To open up the main monitor up here, or the top monitor, you got this lever I was telling you about. So I'm gonna pull on this yellow lever, and when I pull on it, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna grab the door from the left-hand side, and it's gonna swing out this way to give me access to inside the cabinet itself. Up here, this is where you can put all your player tracking and everything. You have a decent amount of space in there to do what you got to do. The switch for this door is located over here on the left hand side. So if you're having issues with that top monitor or that top door they're opening, take a look at this switch right here. The main door, got to show you that one. This is the switch for the main door. That lock assembly I was telling you about is located right there. Real easy to change. And this is the switch. It's pretty much a metal bracket, but it's the switch right behind it. So when we close the door, it'll depress that and close my door. You have a topper. up at the very top. And again, this cabinet is like real easy to take apart. I have the videos compiled to take these off, but if you had to say for whatever reason want to take that top monitor off, it's held in with four 7 millimeter screws that in order for it to come out. Again, if you had to. For this top monitor, it has six, no, seven Phillips screws that actually hold it in. And again, I have a video for that, and I can show you real quick based off what's going to happen. Instead of this whole assembly coming off, this entire assembly coming off, what's going to take place is you got two screws that's going to hold this bezel on first, and those are located up at the very top on the inside. So it's two Phillips screws right up top. You take those two screws off, this comes off. And then to take this monitor out, what's going to take place is you got three Phillips screws up top, and then you're going to have one at the bottom down here, and one on the right hand side. And as you can see, right up above this screw right here, there's this little standoff, and it has this teardrop opening. Once you get all those Phillips screws taken out, you simply grasp on the monitor right in here, and you lift up the whole monitor come off. So you don't ever have to worry about taking off the door, the whole door. It's just the monitor itself. So that's fairly easy to take. And like I said, there's a video to show you that's going to show everybody how to take it out. And it took me like maybe 5 minutes to go about doing that. All right, so here's what I've done, and I'll go back to the other screen. Is there anything else I need to show you as far as physical things on this door? The button panel, yeah, let's talk about that one real quick. The button panel is real easy to take off. And the nice thing about it is that the connections for both of them are the same. You'll have three Phillips screws, and that's in the presentation that you take off that's located on the bottom of this door here, along the bottom there. Then you have three cables. And as you can see, we have this little opening. Any wires coming out of this opening is obviously for the button deck. So you got the one cable that's here, and it has two connections on it. You disconnect those two, and then you have the other cable. This is based off. This is what controls all the buttons that's on the button panel based off the one you're using. You'll disconnect this out. Once you take this out, take those three screws off the bottom. This button panel, it pops right out. And again, I have a video. I'll show you how to go about doing that real quick. And then the last one, for whatever reason, you have this 7 segment display, even though it's not on right now. If you had to change it, again, it's a real easy change. You have a couple screws that you have to come in and take off. It's pretty much, and again, I'll have a video. You have two screws here that has the 7 millimeter nuts, and there's two on the other side. Of course, my cables is hiding them. You take those two out, and this will go right out the front. So they made this cabinet actually real easy to work on. The CPU itself, like I was telling y'all, I have a CPU here. This is what it's going to look like. It's obviously going to have a lock, but let's say you want to, if your jurisdiction require you to lock them, like I said, you can go ahead and install the CPU into the cabinet. Now I got to, sorry about this for a second. Need two hands to do this portion. Unlock. So once you get with the logic door unlocked, you'll have a thumb screw over here on the right. You'll loosen that. And another reason why you would probably want to take the logic door out is you want to change out, you have to change the batteries in the back. Once I got that unlocked, I can now lift up on this, and I can take it off and give it to the people to do what they got to do, and we good to go. On the cover itself, that one thing I was saying about the labels, some will be labeled V1, that's going to be toward the front of the CPU, all the way to V4. On other CPUs, and again, there's a pin on the video card, will be, instead of this being where it says V4, it will be V1, 2, 3, 4. So it's pretty much reversed, but the connections is still the same. We just have two different video cards that are out there. And this is the video card. But so another reason why you want to take the logic door off is this one does not have a battery bank in the back here, but I had a 4 pack that was here. Someone took it from me. But you know, it's back here. You have this thumb screw. By simply loosening this thumb screw right here, by simply loosening that, disconnecting this cable off of that battery pound pack, that 4 pack will come right off the back, and you can make the change the batteries out, put it back in, connect your cable, and screw it back in. So that would be another reason why you would want to change out or take the logic door off. The other thing about the CPU is your switch. If you're having issues with the switch, we actually have two switches on this for the logic door. So if you're having issues with your logic door, have your techs take a look at this switch right here to see what it is that's going on based off of if they're having issues with the logic door. All right, I think that's enough the physical part of it. Let's get back to my other view. So y'all won't be bouncing around like slime, making me very dizzy here. Let's go ahead and install that. It does not like that thumb drive. As a matter of fact, I'll show y'all this. So let me switch my view back to the other screen, VNC. So I had this thumb drive in it, and it was a bundle. When I inserted it, hey, update. Oh, I'm waiting. It's updating because you should see an error message down here where it's reading. See you there. That's good. I have no clue what happened, but okay. Now I can share my screen. Get you all back to where we were. Share, and we'll go on this screen right here and move this over here. So while I was sitting here fighting, I apologize for this network thing. I don't know what was going on. But what I've done, I want to show you all that error. So I'm going to let this software finish installing. I'm just going to go through. So I have a bundle. I got my game, as you can see, my OS, as well as my jurisdiction. Now, one of the things that I've done intentionally is over in my modules installed, you notice I have an OS 308A, which is actually a newer version. I think I was using that for something else, but you can overwrite. So, like, what example? If you have some things that's already installed, like the OS, it will go through. It will all install the newer version or the version you want to install, and remove the older version of what needs to be installed. So now it's telling me all installation and everything is done properly. So as you can see, what it did was it took off my 308 and it replaced it with the 306F. So, that's a good thing about it. Now, if you had to do like a RAM clear or something, or if you want, let's say you want to remove like an OS. So I'm gonna go back in. So what I'm doing, even though you can't see it, on the screen, I'm going to touch in under the installed modules, the OS 306F. I'm going to tap that. I want to, if you take a look, what took place is, and under the modules installed, I can actually install this software by tapping on the install. Let's uncheck that. What else do we have? You can also go through, you can do an NVRAM clear under the modules, installed modules by tapping the NVRAM clear. Of course, it's going to ask you the question again. You can go through, do a RAM clear. Forensic capture and forensic upload. What that does is, it's like, so if you have an issue with the game, like the cabinet, it'll run for like 24 hours and then it cuts off. All this information is still being stored in the hard drive itself. What you can do is you can take a thumb drive, insert it into any available USB port on the back plane board that the CPU plugs into. This button will come on and it will allow you. It will actually see that thumb drive. You don't have to even have to tell it where to go. It'll see that thumb drive, and then you can upload that information to this thumb drive, and then based off of whoever it was that you was talking to that instructed you to get a forensics capture, send them that file. And it's not a big file. It's pretty much just going to be a text file, so you can pretty much put on your laptop, and then email it to whoever it is that requested it. Outside of that, the only other two things to talk about on this screen is you have right below the install modules, the option to rotate the screen. Well, I don't want to rotate it, but it will rotate the screen. Or you can even take a look at your signatures or your SHAs, for what's been uploaded in the game. So by simply tapping on display signature, now my finger don't want to work. Come on. Yeah, there it goes. As you can see, it will show you it'll show you your part numbers. It'll show you what build it was based off the version that released out there, and then it'll also show you based off of the module for up top. For example, game. There's my SHA signature for it. So you can have you can go through take a picture of this. give it to your gaming team. And they can your gaming agencies, and they can look at the signatures this way as well. Some people accept it, and some people don't. So, but that's what you can do based off of that. All right, so we went through. We've installed all the software. After all the software is installed, there is a correct way to go about, getting this information to upload to the cabinet. The very first thing you must do is turn the cabinet off. Can't see me doing that, but I've turned the cabinet off. Every thumb drive that I have that is inserted into the CPU, I want to take those out. So I'll pull those out. Once I got my thumb drives taken out, I can now go back in, turn my cabinet on. This cabinet will be ready for installation or me setting the option out the software once I hear that audible. And everybody knows this audible is like, you stand there, you're talking, and all of a sudden the machine just blares out this loud beep and it kind of catches you off guard. Well, it's going to give you an audible. Once I hear that audible, I know I'm ready to go in and start optioning out the cabinet. So we'll give it a chance to to get that audible, and we'll go into the setup of it. And while I'm waiting on that, let's see. I want to point something else out to y'all. We've done the CPU. I'm doing software installation right now. On the belly door, let's switch cameras. Drop this down. I was telling you all about the mounting. When it comes to the mounting, there is a screw that we have to make sure well, it's going to be built into the cabinet. So on the belly door here that I'm pointing to, there's a screw. There's always going to be the screw to the cabinet. And again, I apologize for the view, but this screw, this is going to be the fourth screw based off of the template. If you're using again our LG L&W stands, the template, this cabinet will fit on the template. In order for you to get to the access to bolts, you're going to have to take the CPU out because the CPU again is located at the bottom of the cabinet. And in order for you to again to access these bolts or the mounting holes, you'll pull the CPU out and then you'll see the holes. There's two that's right in front of the CPU, and there's one on the back left that's also located there. So you take the CPU out, match it up on the holes, or put it on your base wherever you want. Drill the holes as you need to for those three. For the fourth one, it's located behind the cache box, the BB housing and stuff. Again, it's designed the way they have it is going to actually go from inside the base up into the cabinet. All right, how's my game doing? Oh, I ain't got that. Almost getting ready to get that audible here. All right, so I don't want to see my big head on here no more. So let me switch this camera. That's out the way. All right, let's see if it complains this time because I need to show you all how that one menu that we have that shows you, because it's like based off your button deck, you still need to know how to go about what the layout is supposed to look like, and that's really for like if it's a 27 max bet, 45 max bet, or a 90 max bet. 90 max bet is pretty easy to figure out, but I want to show you this one more menu that will show you how to show you how to identify if it is correct or not. So hopefully it doesn't give me an error message this time. I was complaining about my video. Everybody is plugged in though. All right. So I'm waiting to. All right. So it's on the easy config. So let's hit enter here. Continue. Scroll down, and I'll move this over in a second. So we're back to the cabinet. We went through, we've installed all the software based off of those screens that we saw in the very beginning. The installed modules, we know we have everything that's installed. Those two screens I told you about that I can't show you because it won't allow me the connection. It's pretty much confirming. By me hitting a yes, it takes me into what we call the easy config menu. The easy config menu actually again have three options to use. Networking says you got to have everything on the same network switch. At the same time, the game themes all need to match to have the same math. If they have the same math, you can use this feature to share across the network. The next one is a local machine. Local machine says based off of this cabinet that I went through and I've had an option for a while. This cabinet, for whatever reason, had to complain, and you want to pretty much reinstall the software. Well, by selecting the local machine based off of the options that were originally set up in the cabinet, this is our way of restoring a cabinet back to the original options. Now, all of the information as far as like your current values and all that stuff, that information will not be there, but it will get you back to the basis of what you started. That's what local machine does. USB says I can take a thumb drive, and again, any thumb drive, I can insert it into any available USB port. I can copy the information from this one cabinet onto this thumb drive, and then I can go anywhere on my casino floor that has the same game theme, obviously the same cabinet, same CPU. Take this thumb drive, insert it into any available USB port in those other cabinets, and I can upload information. Now, in order for this to work, you're going to go through again. And the example is we have 8 cabinets. We've installed the software on all 8 cabinets. We have confirmed, based off of that very first screen that I was just talking about that you can't see. We have went through. We have selected yes to do the RAM clear once more. The one cabinet, the very first cabinet we're going to use, you're going to skip. You're going to select skipped on that menu. All the other cabinets, leave it on the easy config window. Reason being because you're actually going to be joining a network group. So this is our first cabinet that we're going to go through. Obviously, like I said, you're going to hit skip on this first cabinet. So I'm tapping skip. It's going to go through, do its thing, and obviously go through this little Argos thing again. Now, again, the insight I want to put on this is like based off of the easy config feature. You're obviously going to have to figure out how to share it. And there I got my Audible behind me. You're obviously going to have to share this information across the network. But all the other cabinets, you want to make sure that again, the software has been installed. You have did the NVRAM clear with the CPU door open, and you want to leave it on the easy config window. Based off my Audible, what I'm doing now is I'm touching the self test button to put me into the menu that we want to go through and do the configuring. Menus is pretty self-intuitive. It takes you through step by step, blow by blow, what you got to do up to a certain point. The very first menu that's always going to come up is going to be your local setup. There's only 2 options on this page you need to really worry about setting. That's going to be your clock format up the top left, and then to the right of it, your date format. Everything else that you see below that, this is all really controlled through the jurisdiction chip. What I'm saying here is like I can go through like based off my currency, I can click on that drop down arrow. I can select any one of these that based off the choices that I have. But because I've selected it, it's not going to say, for example, if I select Argentinian, based off the currency, it's not going to display my currency in an Argentinian format. It's going to look at the jurisdiction chip. The jurisdiction chip is going to say, nope, this is US. So that's what it's going to play. The point here is you can go through, you can toggle on all these different languages and everything. It's not going to change because the jurisdiction do control it. Okay. So go through, make a determination on your clock, 24-hour or 12-hour. Date format, and most places leave it as defaulted. Once we've done that, save and continue. Based off of that, next thing going to come up is going to be your clock setup. Clock setup is obviously important because when you run your reports and everything based off your progressives, you want to make sure that you are in the right date, you're on the right date, the right time, as well as the correct time zone. To change it, simply tap on modify. Modify brings up this window. It's pretty much a scrolling clock with a drop down for your time zone. Based off the scrolling, if I tap on May, what's going to do? It's going to actually go back to May. So it's going to go in the reverse order. If I tap April, it goes to April. If I want to go ahead, tap it at the bottom for the month, May, June. I know I'm in June. If I was July, I can change it to July. But to get it to advance, tap it from the bottom. To get it go in reverse, tap it from the top. Go through, do that for your date, your time, and right now I am 10:24. I got 6 minutes. Anybody know that song, Dougie Fresh? Let's go to 10.
I do.
At least I got one chuckle out of that because all right, so it's 10:24 and I am AM and I am in Pacific time zone. I'll go down through here and I'll take a look. As my Pacific. So, but the point is, make sure that you're on the right time zone. Your date and time is set the way it's supposed to be. Reason being, I mean, it's very important when you run reports. So we've got that set. Continue. Serial number. This is a one-time entry. Based off this entry, once I save it, If I entered the wrong serial number and I've saved it, well, now you have to go back and do a RAM clear in the game. So make sure that the people, when they enter the serial number, that they enter in correctly. I'm just going to pick some erroneous numbers because right now I'm not on the network or anything. Don't make a difference. Now, here's what I tell everybody. So as you saw, I went through my keypad. I've entered my serial number. A lot of people usually tap on the accept. What I tell everybody to do is like I like to make it like life as easy as possible. If I hit accept, I'm still going to have to hit the enter my asset number. So once I've entered my serial number, I'll go up to the asset ID window. I'll tap on it, and as you can see, what took place, my serial number actually populated. So I pretty much just hit it one time, and then I only hit accept one time, just like that. So I mean, the point is like you can accept if you want to, but once you enter your serial number, just go right over to the asset ID field, tap on it, change it, and then you can accept, and then you only hit the accept one time. Once that's entered, save and continue. This page, your device setup. I'll make this where you can see the top of device setup. Argos is smart enough to identify the peripheral devices you have that is in there, the printer type, your validator type. If you had a card reader, coin acceptor, hopper, and all that, the software is smart enough to recognize that. So the only thing we're gonna have them people, everyone do is just verify what they see that's on this page and say okay, and then hit continue. The next page, this is the information that you all already know. You will go through, enter this information that you as you want it to be for all your limit setups that you have out on the floor. The one thing that is nice about Argos is, let's say for example, and again, based off the jurisdiction, we want to make set everything at $4,000. I'm going to click on the credit limit field. My numeric pad is going to appear. I'm gonna tap on clear, and I'm gonna type in 4,000. If jurisdiction accepted, when I hit accept, it'll go through, it'll populate all the fields where that that can take that set it to 4,000. Now, if for example you want your credit limit at 4,000, don't think anybody do, they probably want it higher. But I want my bill and coining limit to be less than a 4,000. You can click on that field, clear it, and change to whatever it is you want it to be at. But the point here is like if all of the values are say the same, and I don't think they ever will be, you can just pretty much enter it into one field and it'll populate all the other fields. If they are all different, well, you're obviously going to go through and you can tap on each one of them and change those to the 4,000. The only one that you probably won't be able to change is the jackpot limit. We all know the tax limit is 1199.99. So based off of that, I don't know if you can make it lower. As a matter of fact, let's see if I can make it higher, not lower. No, let's go lower first. 999.99. Accept. My jurisdiction chip will take that. So you can make it lower than 1199, but you cannot make it higher. So let's clear here. Put in 4250. Accept. It'll automatically change it to the 12. But the point here is like based off your limit, you can go lower, but not higher. Once that information is entered, tap save and continue. From here, if you want to share this across a network, first and foremost, you always want to enable the ion. This allows us again to use that easy config feature. Another nice thing about it is based off of, let's say you had a casino floor that was networked, you've installed your software, you can actually go in and look for this name. And what I would tell everybody to do is use the game theme name. So this one here was my quick hits 2235 or something. So I'll put like QH. That's telling me quick hits 2x, 3x, 5x. I'll pretty much use like the game theme name. So this way, if I'm on the network floor and I have some cabinets on the other side of the casino that's part of this network, I can go and I can look for that game theme name, and I can upload that information to those cabinets. But you have to enable your Ion feature. Save and continue. Okay. H, two time, three time, five time. Scroll down a little bit. Maybe it didn't like oh, I had to accept. It doesn't like it. QH. Maybe I got to use my keypad. Three time, five time, accept. There we go. So I guess I can't use my keyboard. I was using my keyboard. So there is populated. I'm gonna save and continue. Next thing it goes is going to go into, now we're ready to ask ourselves the questions: who, what, when, and why. What are we doing? Well, we obviously got to set up our game. It's going to ask you this question. And I always take the long way so everybody can understand why it's best to say yes on a lot of these choices they give you. Um, What's going to take place is it's going to ask me, do I want to continue with my pay table setup? I can say yes. I tell everybody to say yes. But let's say, for example, you hit no. If I hit no, I'm going to take the long road to get to where I really want to go in the first place. So when it's going to do, as you can see, it takes you back into the setup menu. You end up tapping on the setup menu. It's going to show you everything that we've done thus far. Under our general setup, we've done our local setup, clock setup, and all this stuff. If I had to hit yes, it would have took me right into the game setup screen, and I would have been right here. So you can take the long road to get there by hitting no, or you can just simply hit yes, and it'll take you to here. Based off of here, this is what is we're going to be setting up our game with this pay tables and everything. So by simply clicking on the game, it brings up my denominations that I want to use. As you can see, you have to select four. You cannot select one, you cannot select two, you cannot select five. You do have to select four. So based off of your first choice, this very first denomination is really important. And here's why. If you take a look on this pay tables that I'm seeing, I'm not really concerned with, well, you all would be, but I'm not concerned based off of the percentage. Like for example, this very first one where it says the 87 was is nine max bet, 87 876 with an 87.6%. My min bet is nine. All of them, it's going to be a min bet, total bet of nine. But my max bet, am I going to be doing the nine? Am I going to be doing the 90, the 27, or the 45? Again, this is really important because based off this first one you select, I'm going to tell this game is either going to be a pretty much a one line game, a three-line game, a four-line game, or a four max bet game. Sorry, I kept saying line. But based off my bets, I'm going to make the determination of what it's going to be. And this is really important because of your button deck. For the button deck that I have in here, it's a 14 button deck, but I'm going to select 27. Based off that very first denomination, on the rest of the denominations, they're only going to show me the 27. So you can go through and select whatever it is you want your percent holds to be. And again, you have to select four. Once you select four, everybody else will be disabled. From there, you will click next. You can go through and verify based off your max bet. You see that they're all at 27, what your min bet is going to be. There's nothing you really do there, so you tap next. From here, I have an orange check mark in my box. This orange check mark box is telling me that my game has not been saved yet. Now, if you don't save, you try to go into any of the other tabs, you won't be able to do anything because it's complaining that you don't have a game set up yet. So once you get your game set up, always tap save. By me tapping save, it's going to give me two indications. One, that orange check mark changed over to green. That's a good indication. Then down at the bottom left here, it also tells me that my configuration was also saved successfully. From there, what else do I need to do? And I always tell my guys, it's like, well, if you don't know, go up to your home tab, tap on it. Take a look at your pinned and tilts. Based off your pinned and tilts, it'll tell you what else has to happen. You're always going to have doors open. My main, my logic, my belly, my MPU. You're always going to see the setup menu entered. Outside of that, I see my progressive configuration is required. So I got to go in and set up my progressive. Okay. To do that, we go back to our setup menu. Based off our setup menu, I can tap my progressive tab. Now, the one extra thing that you all will do is probably your protocol setup. And again, this is very important. This is the very first cabinet. Whatever it is that you option out in this cabinet, all this information will carry over to the other cabinets. All information that is unique or different with the each config feature, it's going to see those items, and those are only item information that you will have to enter. One of them is going to be your serial number. One of them will be your asset number. It could potentially be your SAS ID. You know, if those are very different. But those are all things it's going to ask you for. So instead of you going through all the menus and all the options, setting the cabinet out, it's going to ask you just the information that is unique. So you will go through and do that protocol setup. For me, I'm going to do progressive setup, which you all have to do too as well. Now, what you're going to see on the progressive menu, you're going to have a couple different fields. Configure progressive combos. What type progressive is we doing? Are we doing a local area, a near area, a wide area, a standalone? What type of progressive combo are we doing? You make that determination there. Then based off that determination, you're going to have to configure that controller. Based off of it, if it's a standalone, you'll see that in there. If you have a progressive that's going to be, say, a local for like levels one and then level two, you want to put that on the standalone, just on that machine, you can do that. If I do selected that option, and let's see, do I have that option on this now? I'll explain it better. So I want my level one to be on a nap. So I do have that choice. So let's make level one nap and then everybody else standalone. So by me making this choice on this right here, I'm going to go ahead and save my configurations. So I've made my determination what I want to use for my progressives. Now, in order for me to configure my progressives, because I did select the standalone, I'm going to go back over to my configure tab. I know I have a near progressive. For me, in the lab, I have the ability to actually create a bank controller without having a bank controller in here. Pretty much our MML dongle. In you all's instance, if you had an MML dongle, you won't have to do what I'm doing, but this is something else you can do. So I'm gonna tap on my home menu. By having that progressive dongle in, you're going to see this arrow. If I did not put that progressive dongle in there, this arrow would not be here. With this arrow, it gives me two choices. I can be in my EGM mode or my multi-link bank controller mode. Well, I'm going to have to go into my multi-link bank controller mode because I need to set up a progressive for my local area. Based off this local area progressive setup, I'm going to go into the setup menu. Based off the setup menu, you first and foremost are going to have to give it a name. Again, I like using the game theme. So I'm going QH 2 time 3 time 5 time. Oops, 1x too many. Let's accept that. And as soon as I started typing, you see my configure link button was enabled. So I accept that. Go to my configure links. Here's what's taking place. It's going to show you your themes that you have. If you have more than one, they will all show there. The pay tables that were selected, based off what you went through and did. It's going to show you your denoms, or it'll show you at the denom, one of the denoms that you have. But there are others, and then it's going to show you all the levels. Based off the levels, I know I have 4 levels. On this window at the bottom, the one thing you want to make sure that you do is you want to check by where it says apply modified configuration to. Put a check mark there. By touching that, go over to this drop down arrow. Because I know I have multiple denominations, I only have one thing, and I want this configuration to be applied to all those denominations as well as pay tables. I'm going to select all things, pay tables, and denoms. Click on that, create my links. It's going to ask a question, yes. Based off this question, it's going to go out and it's going to say, okay, we're good to go. From here, you can go and you can view your links and all that stuff. Now, when you view the links, if you have money you want to add to, like the level one, the level two for your standalone and all that stuff, you can do it here. So, like, let's say if we wanted to add another $1,000 that we're carrying over from another bank to my level one, you're going to take that thousand plus the 7,500, and you're going to enter that value, that total there. Hey, 8500, and I'm going to accept. So my value is going to be there. So I can save that because I'm just going to add it to my one standalone. Now we're going to exit out of here. Takes us back to where we were. You're simply going to hit exit again. Based off of this, we can now see that all of my buttons are enabled. Again, we've already viewed and edited our links based off what we want to do. Link assignments, you can take a look, but based off of the person setting up, I'm sure they understand they had a near area as well as the standalone. So we want to go ahead and start our progressive. So by starting the progressive, now it's going to go out, and what we do with our progressive dongle, our MML dongle now is we actually have a failover system. So in order for this to truly work the way it's supposed to work, you have to set up 2 cabinets that's going to have this MML dongle. One is going to be what we call the active, and the other is going to be the standby. And what takes place is it once if the active was to lose power, whatever reason, go down, everything that as far as the progressive current values and all that stuff that was there will be carried over to the standby, and the standby will now take over. So in essence, what's going to take place is instead of you having all 8 games contributing, you're now only going to have 7. So it keeps the bank up and running. And the only thing the technician will have to do is go over there and resolve the issue with that first game. Once you get that first game, it will make that be the standby. But this question is going to come up. You always want to hit yes. By hitting yes, now what's going to take place is my progressive has started. I'm going to go back to my home menu to get to that drop down. But based off what you're going to see as far as controller status, mine because I have the demo software, it's actually going to say active, and it's going to complain that's be waiting for under my pending tilts. These the SAP configurations pending, but it's also complaining that I do not have my standby controller set up. Again, I have demo software, so yeah, you won't see that feature, but I just wanted to go through the right way so everybody understand what it has to do. From there, click on the drop down arrow, go back into EGM mode, go back to our setup. Based off of setup, go into progressive. We want to look at our controllers. Based off controllers, we have a NAP controller and we also have a standalone controller. I'll start with the NAP controller first. So you tap on the MML NAP controller, hit the refresh button a couple times. Based off of that link that we created, you'll now tap on this drop down arrow and that should appear. There it is. So I'll select that for my the MML NAP. Save that one. Now I still had to do my standalone. So now I'm gonna tap on my standalone progressive. Based off my standalone progressive, you can now go in and add values, to this if you wanted to, based off of the pool that you're carrying over. If you don't want to add anything, you don't necessarily have to. Once you've verified everything is correct, hit start progressive. And again, it asks you all these Windows questions. You want to hit yes. I can now go back to my home tab, look at my pending tilts. Of course, give it a little while to communicate. Mine's going to complain about my standby because I don't have it connected. I only have one landmark, but I just wanted to go through that. Based off of everything being set up the way it happens, the only thing you should see will be your main door open, all your doors open, and the setup menu. From this point, this game is actually up and ready to run. Any questions based off of the software setup?
No, I don't think so.
All right.
All right.
One last thing. I just looked at the camera. I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to show them this. I apologize one more time. So remember I was telling y'all based off of your button layout, there's a page that you can go to view what this layout is going to look like. Let me share my screen again one last time, and then I'll let y'all go. Go there. Go back to VNC. There. You're going to go into your diagnostics tab. You're going to go under more diagnostics. Under more diagnostics, you're going to look for the pay table test. Based off the pay table test, I'm clicking on it. It's going to show you the pay table test that you have that is out there, right? What we're going to do is, yeah, let's move this out the way, put this back over here. I'm going to scroll down at the bottom. We want to enter our pay table test. So tap on the enter. What it's going to do, first and foremost, it gives you the ability to go through and test the reels. This is part of the screen, but the part that you want to have you guys take a look at is up at the top. You see this message up here, the diagnostic button panel. By clicking on this, what's going to take place, this is going to show you what your button deck is going to look like. So up at the top, you're going to have the numbers 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. At the bottom, you're going to have numbers 1, 2, and 3. And like I said, I know this is a 27 max bet game. If it was 45, so it would be the 1, 2, 3, and then my next button will be 5. If it's a 90, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 5, and 10. But the point is like you can actually take a look at this page here to see exactly what legends you are to what you have to which legends you're going to use, and then based off of the spots that are blank, because on a 14 button panel, it's obviously going to have buttons there. You can take those buttons out and put a blank plate in, and that's why I say I think if you can have you guys go and see if they have the it should be, and that when they're saying it's going to be like a package that's going to have your labels for the buttons as well as any blanking plates that you may potentially need, in this one kit. So have them take a look at that. Now I'm done. Any questions? Going around
No,
once.
I don't think
All
so.
All righty, now I can let you go. Again, thank you all. Everybody have a great one, and I apologize again. I hate to keep saying that, but uh, I like things to go perfect, and that this was I had some difficulties that I did not like. So with that, everybody be safe and have a good day.
All right, thank you, Sly.
All right.